Thank you. And my second item, it came to my attention that yesterday's City Commission meeting that Commissioner Atwell has asked for a briefing by our staff to the City Commission on 2050. I think we all know that you can't do that in an hour or 2 hours. I think it's incumbent upon them to just attend the workshops. We've had workshops for the past couple of years. There's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't think any of them have been at any of the workshops. If she intends to be brought up to speed, I think our staff is stretched. We need our staff to finish the 2050 revisions. We don't need to have them go make a presentation to the City Commission. So I would, at least from my perspective, I think that's a time wasted by our staff. I think just provide Ms. Atwell with the links to, and anybody else in the City Commission, to the links on our website, to email them any information they need, and let them, invite them to the workshops that some of us went to. I know Commissioner Robinson was probably at all of them. Commissioners can make a point to get there if they really want to be educated on it. And I don't recall her being involved in the process the whole time I was involved in it in 2050, so it's recent. So I think it's incumbent upon her to bring herself up to speed on it.
Commissioner Robinson.
Yeah, I was at all those meetings. I don't recall seeing her there. And we are going to have 3 more public hearings and included in, well, 2 more public hearings and an information exchange. So perhaps, Mr. Reed, you could provide the municipal managers with copies of the public meetings notices if they've decided to take an interest in it, because I did not see anybody take an interest in it up until this point before that from the public meetings as far as the municipal officials are concerned. I was chair last year, so we were in COG, and we talked about 2050 and invited them to those meetings. As a matter of fact, I recall those conversations. So they've been aware of the entire process, and I believe, I'm not sure, and Mr. Reed, maybe you have a better recollection, we actually even talked about 2050 at one of the COG meetings as far as laying out what was going on and what we were doing. And last year, Mayor Atwell was at those particular meetings, was serving for the city on those meetings.
I believe your latter point is correct. I would tell you I have sent the documents and even the original summaries of what 2050 meant to each of the managers and advised them that they could let their elected officials be known. But I am updating them and have. But if you wish us to, if there's a request from the city to come make a presentation, I would like direction if we don't wish to do that. I appreciate Joe's comment.
Yeah, I think there's ample ways for people to educate themselves on this, and the workshops, the website. I just think our staff needs to focus on getting the job done and doing the public forums that they're going to have. And I also don't want this to dominate our joint meeting because we have the homeless issues, we have the CRA issues, we have the SCAT issues. So I wouldn't want it to also dominate our joint meeting with the city. So.
Commissioner Patterson.
Well, I guess I don't agree. But the first question that I have is this Commissioner Atwell calling for it and making the request, or is this the commission, the city commission, making the
I heard
request?
she brought it up. I don't know if they voted. I honestly don't know that. But if we do this, we're going to have to do it for Northport and Venice, and our staff is taxed already.
If they ask us to. Which they have not at this point. And the City of Sarasota did follow 2050 when it was put together. One of the issues is that there are a lot of new players who weren't there at the time. And if we actually look at the geography of much of the 2050 plan, the City of Sarasota and its downtown is probably more affected by the outcome of 2050 than some of the other cities. And I don't think that
The other way around.
May I finish?
Yep, the other way around. Yeah.
Well, I don't agree with that.
Okay.
But I don't think that they would be asking for a multi-hour presentation. I think it's not that big a deal if we send Alan Parsons and maybe Tom Polk for a half-an-hour presentation to the City Commission, not at our joint meeting, and give them an opportunity to ask questions. And I just don't see that as that big a deal, that if the elected body has made that request of us, that we should say no.
I would agree if there were no other opportunities, but there's so many other opportunities to educate yourself on it. And I can tell you right now, you can't explain 2050 in a half an hour. You can't explain it in 4 hours. It's a complicated process. As you saw by Commissioner Atwell's written report, she thought the RMA was the urban service boundary. There are 7 or 9 RMAs. There's quite a few RMAs in the 2050. And the one that pertains to the city is primarily the redevelopment RMA. And she can quickly educate herself on that by going on the website or going to one of the forums. That's just from my position. If the commission wants to vote on it or whatever, or wait till we get a formal request, that's fine. Just trying to save staff some time and get this thing moving. Remember, we asked 2050 to be looked at almost 3 years ago. We're now getting to it. So,
you know, a lot happened in those 3 years that kind of disrupted normal county processes. But regardless of that, it is a lot to digest in a half an hour or an hour or 5 hours. It was something we spent years on, which is why I felt just taking the same basic process as you would for a normal comp plan and rezone was probably insufficient for the general public. But I do think that at least the city staff know a fair amount about it. Not the least of which reason is because some of the property that we labeled Greenway was owned by the city, and it was followed. Anyway, regardless, it's just a difference of opinion. I'm not going to bring it up until we get a formal request. But if we do get a formal request, I am going to be on the side of giving them that opportunity if they wish.
Commissioner Robinson.
I would still ask that and if we can be copied, that you send a letter to the city managers letting them know of the public participation for, as we did last time, for everything else up until this point, because they've been fully informed. At least when I was on COG last year, they were fully informed from beginning to end on the whole issue because we talked about it. So, and had the opportunity. I would still ask that continue and that we be copied with those letters to the city managers, letting them know when and where the next meeting is, the Planning Commission meeting, and the BCC meeting.
And the website links.
Yeah, and the website links. So
that's fine, but you're not suggesting at this point that we deny any request that hasn't been formally made.
I haven't received a request yet, but I think that we need to be proactive in the invitation to get them to participate, as we've been, and they haven't up until this point, but hopefully they will start participating in that particular process.
I'm fine with that, but I think that if we get a formal request, we really do have to take an actual vote.
I'm not addressing that right now. Again.
Fine.
Yeah.
I'm happy with what you're saying.